Yeah. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, all of you. Let us start the class with a minute silent prayer. With a minute silent prayer. Thank you. Yes. So today class we will be focusing on different teaching methods, learning methods, teaching aids, learning style, different types of learners, right? And then multiple intelligence. What is multiple intelligence? Who has propounded this? So how to bring multiple intelligence among students? So do we have really multiple intelligence? Right. So those things we will discuss. Then different types of evaluation. So what are the elements of evaluation system? Types of evaluation and functions of evaluation. And there are few learning disabilities, and then we also continue with history of education. So teaching methods. So what are the teaching methods there? So what are the different types of teaching methods we have?
Traditional model.
Yes. One is traditional model method. And then modern methods. Good.
Methods we have a idealism method.
Good. Good.
Traditional method, naturalism method, pragmatic method, and extensive method.
Good.
Modern method, we have inferential teaching, deductive method, inductive method, and activity method or payway method.
Good. Yes. So teaching methods, traditionally we have 4 category. There are many. So all have been grouped under 4 category, right? So one is called idealism. Second, naturalism. The third one is pragmatic method. The fourth one is existentialist method, right? So existentialism. So we used to say. So what is the idealism method? So idealism method was actually different people was propounded at a different period, but based on their ideology, it has been kept under this category, right? It doesn't mean that Socrates' ideology a little different from Plato. All ideologies are not same, right? Aristotle ideology is different from Froebel, right? So ideologies are different, but still it carries more weightage. So what happens? All the ideologies put together, they have brought under the idealism method, right? So what Socrates says, questioning method is called education. Right? Start with questioning, deal with questioning, end with questioning. Then you will be educated. That's what Socrates says. Plato says conversational would be the best method of education. So always conversation, right, with the learners will be the best. Plato says. So he did not cover the boundary of education in 4 hours or 5 hours or 8 hours. He said the day with the teacher is education. So earlier days, they used to be full day. So if they go by walk, it doesn't mean that there is a classroom and they have to sit and learn, right? During morning, afternoon, dinner, evening, and during all the time, they used to be with their students, right? They used to be with their students. So always they used to involve in the conversation. So through conversation, they develop different ideas and the nature of new thing. So that's why it is called conversational method of education by Plato. The third one, Aristotle. So what Aristotle says? Yes. What is that Aristotle method ideology? Discussion. Yeah, discussion and good. Good. So Aristotle deals with inductive and deductive. Right. Yes. Hegel is logical method. Aristotle is deductive and inductive. Yeah, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. So Aristotle deals with deductive and inductive. What we used to deal in logical reasoning nowadays, it was propounded by Aristotle a long year back, right? Hundreds of years back. The deductive and inductive was propounded by Aristotle. So what is deductive method of learning or education? Deductive method. Moving from theory to practice. Moving from theory to practice. Right. Yeah, good. Moving from theory to practice, moving from theory to real life situation, right? But inductive is just reverse. So what happens from the real life situation, they get to know what has to be the new theory. So it is purely on explorative nature. Experimental and explorative nature. Inductive method of education, right? So these two was taught by Aristotle. Second, Hegel was propounded logical method. Logical method, right? If or not condition. They used to put up. If you see any flow chart in computer logarithm, it works under logic, right? A specific logic. All artificial intelligence works on a specific logic. So, which was right, propounded by Hegel. So, education should have logical method. It should not end with questions. It should end with a response and answers. Right? If anybody has doubt, if it closes, then education has not fulfilled. Right? So all the doubts has a solution. All the problems has the solution. So the teacher should use logic to bring their solution as their findings. So mostly this used under research, development, right, documentations. So logic method. Next, pastology method. Pastology. He suggested, yeah, self-activity method. Self-activity method. Author name was Pastology is the author name. Pastology. He suggested self-activity method. So through self-exploration, self-activity, learning by doing. Please make a note. Learning by doing comes under pastology method, right? Then Herbert, he has come out with discussion and debate. Education is nothing but is a development of conversational method, which was given by Plato, right? So Herbert says discussion and debate is called education. That's why even nowadays schools and all used to have children parliament. Then they used to conduct debates, pros and cons, the same title. A single student have to talk pros for 5 minutes and cons about 5 minutes. So positive and negative in a single title have to be taught. So likewise, the education can be developed. That's what Herbert says. So discussion and debate, right? Debate, வாக்குவாதம், பட்டிமன்றம் நடத்துறது, எஸ் ஆர் நோ, ட்ரூ ஆர் ஃபால்ஸ் அப்படின்னு பேசுறது. ஸோ அதுக்கு லாஜிக் டெவலப் பண்றது, டிபேட். Next, Froebel. Froebel is one who introduced the kindergarten concept. So he says school is a garden and students tender a plant, but educator, whereas the educator takes a role of careful gardener. Educator takes a role of careful gardener, right? Next, Upanishads period is called as informal dialectic, right? Where Ramakrishna Paramahamsa has given informal dialectic to Vivekananda, right? So what we used to say in Sanskrit, what is that? தீட்சை வாங்கிட்டீங்களான்னு கேட்பாங்க. குருட்ட தீட்சை வாங்கிட்டீங்களான்னு கேட்பாங்க, right? This is called informal dialectic. So it is nothing but discussion plus lecture method. Upanishad period was focusing on discussion plus lecture method, right? Current education la reverse, Upanishad period. So that time teacher will sit and students will stand unless the teacher completes his lecture, right? But nowadays teacher have to stand and students have to sit and they can do whatever they want during the time of lecture, right? So Upanishad period is exactly opposite. In Upanishad period, the student have to go to teacher, search the teacher, find the teacher and go to the teacher, live with the teacher, thereby they learn. But now teacher have to go to student, they have to find the student, they have to find a group of students and go to the students, teach. So exactly reverse. The practice which we follow is an opposite of Upanishadis period, but the methods which we follow is the same given by Upanishad period, that is discussion and lecture method. Discussion and lecture method, right? So this comes under idealism. Next is naturalism. So what is that? So Rousseau is a popular name, Rousseau, right? So he brought a concept called email project, right? So it's nothing but education is a process of living. So by nature, education is a process of living. It no need to be institutionalized. Right? Earlier days, people were living. It doesn't mean that they are literate, right? அவங்களுக்கு எழுத படிக்க தெரியலன்னா அவங்க illiterate-னு அர்த்தம் இல்ல. They had their own language to speak, right? இப்ப tribals-க்கு வந்தோம்னா we say them as illiterate because they can't read and write sometimes, some people, but they speak their own language. அவங்க கொடுக்குற மியூசிக் எல்லாமே ஒரு லாங்குவேஜ் அவங்களுக்கு, right? And the matter is, well, it doesn't mean that education have to be institutionalized and taught from one person to the other person. It is a process of living. That's what Rousseau says through naturalism concept, right? So it is, the education should be based on actual experiences, right? So here the learning by doing concept have been flashed through naturalism principle, learning by doing. This is called E-MILE, which means learning by doing, right? So talk with the nature, listen the nature, whatever the nature says, that's going to be dictated in the world. That's what Rousseau says, right? Next, pragmatic method. Pragmatic method is called as experimental teaching method. So whatever you learn, first test it. There is a Tirukural, no? What is that?
Pragmatic experimental.
Experimental teaching. So Tirukural, there is a Tirukural. What is that? No, no, no. The pragmatics, experimental teaching, there is a good proverb from Thirukural. Yaar enna sonalum kekada, first you test it. If it is true, then you accept. So there is a, and in the meaning la or kural irukku. Right? Illa. So there is a Thirukural, I forgot exactly to say.
So I read here something.
Okay, I'm not getting. Okay, leave. So what is that? The pragmatic method is experimental teaching method. So first lab அப்படிங்கிற கான்செப்ட் வந்ததே under pragmatic method. Science lab, physics lab, chemistry lab, maths lab. Even nowadays language there is a lab, right? So laboratory experience is given under pragmatic method. So this method is propounded by John Dewey. So that's why it is called Dewey's theory, right? He insisted doing project, thereby they learn much. Doing a project, thereby they can learn much, right? So project method. Next is existentialist method. It is more or less a Socrates approach. What here it is they say is ask questions, refine answers, ask more questions, right? Push the issue until some acceptable solutions or conclusions you reach, some acceptable solutions or conclusion, right? So that is called existentialist method. The ask questions, refine answer, ask more questions. This steps given by Socrates. Under idealism theory, right? Question method, the same thing, right? So here existentialist.
Existing method idealism theory.
This is a different theory, but the idealism, Socrates or idealism, whatever. Right? So in existentialism method, what they say is teacher cannot impose his or her own ideas, ideologies, and values upon students. A teacher cannot impose his or her own ideas, ideologies, and values upon students. That's what is insisted in existentialist method, right? That is what I insisted in existentialist method, right? Did I leave anything? Next, modern teaching methods. So there are 10 methods we need to discuss. Inferential teaching, deductive method, inductive method, activity method, micro teaching method, blended teaching learning method, flipped classroom method, team teaching method, interactive mode teaching method, and disguised teaching method. A quick response to this: inferential teaching. So draw inference from the students. So anything you taught in class, right? Anything you teach in class, draw inferences, right? Document it, right? That is called inferential teaching.
Documents, inferential teaching.
Draw inference out of the concept you taught in the class. ஒரு கிளாஸ்ல நீங்க நடத்துறத வச்சு பசங்க என்ன புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டாங்க, what is from his perception, we need to draw inference, right? That has to be documented. நம்ம இன்ஃபரன்ஸ் எடுத்து that has to be documented. ஒரு பேட்ச்ல வர்ற இன்ஃபரன்ஸ்க்கு இன்னொரு பேட்ச்ல வர்ற இன்ஃபரன்ஸ்க்கு டிஃபரன்ஸ் இருக்கும், right? So what happens, we need to be fine-tuned along with the students' capabilities, right? That's why inferential teaching method deals with that, right? Deductive method, as we have seen earlier, said by Aristotle, right? So start from theory and end with real life experience. And inductive method, whereas the inductive method start with the real life experience and find new theory. explore and come out with new theory, right? So the deductive and inductive together we call it as inferential problem solving technique. Both deductive and inductive we can call it as inferential problem solving technique.
Inferential concept predictive retrieval.
That's the next stage. Okay. Next is activity method of teaching or playway assessment, playway method of teaching. So 5 years back, even a decade, they were discussing about activity-based assessment, activity-based teaching, right? Even all corporation schools, even government have taken up this in all middle and basic schools. Even the textbook also have changed, right? Based on to bring activities among the students, activity or playway teaching method. So even assessment is also happens through playway method, right? And then students, instead of taking exam sheet, paper, pen, and they used to go with bat and ball or bucket and some activities oriented. Through that, they will be assessed if they understand the concept or not, right? So, for example, if you are handling entrepreneurship paper to a college student, so what have to a college or some basic student, so what we used to do, I used to ask them to bring a ball and take a bucket from the stationery at school. So they will take the stationery, the bucket and ball, right? So we all go to the ground, and we will be drawing a line, a grease line, 3 lines, 4 lines, 4. So what happens, we used to keep the bucket at one place at least 3 to 4 feet distance, right? So the student need to throw the ball to the bucket, on the bucket, into the bucket, right? Either he can stand in the first grease or second grease or third grease or fourth grease as he or she want, right? எங்க நின்னோம்னா இப்போ ஒரு 3 அடி தூரத்துல பக்கெட் இருக்கும். இந்த 3 அடி தூரத்துல இருந்து 3 கிரீஸ் போட்டிருக்கோம், 3 கோடு போட்டிருக்கோம். ஒரு 2 feet or 1.5 feet டிஸ்டன்ஸ்ல போட்டிருக்கோம் அந்த கோடு. So the student can stand anywhere and throw the ball, but the ball has to go into the bucket. In such a way they have to throw, right? So what happens, one student get into and he stand in the first grease na bucket ku pakkathula 3 feet la irukum. So he stand there and put up. So I said everybody will get only 3 chance. So let me count how many you can put out of 3. 3 la 2 போடுறியா, 3 போடுறியா, இல்ல 1 கூட போடலையா, that you can stand anywhere on the grease. So one student tried from the first grease, the second student tried from the last grease, the third student will have tried from first grease first attempt, second grease in the second attempt, third grease in the different attempt. So everybody have made different attempts. So finally what we have concluded, these are called as risk-taking ability in entrepreneurship, right? Everybody's risk-taking ability differs, right? Some students, they thought they can be convenient to be in the fourth grease and throw the ball into the bucket, right? So some students, they thought it is better to be near to the bucket so that we can easily throw the ball, right? So risk-taking ability can be assessed. Second, how do they feel convenient? If someone is taking huge risk, it doesn't mean that they are really going to get lost. They feel convenient at that stage. The particular entrepreneur or the sole proprietor feel convenient at that stage, so he plays an important role in the business in that stage. It may fail. So out of 3 count, some thrown in the 1 out of 3, some thrown 3 out of 3, most of them have failed, right? Even most of the attempts have been failed. Okay, so totally the 34 students, everybody gets 3 chance, right? About 102 chance they got. About out of 102, totally 22 times only the ball got into the bucket, which means the remaining about 80 attempts have been failed. So entrepreneur used to be like this. Entrepreneurial skills used to be like this. Everybody has the skill. All the students have the skill to throw the ball into the bucket. But still, they have varieties of risk-taking ability, varieties of behavior and characteristics, and adaptation. Adaptation matters. So through this exercise, we understand these much things, right? After dealing with class. Okay, so this is called playway method or activity method, right? So for example, if you take commerce, yeah, when we handle accounting principles or accounting final accounts for that case, final accounts or accounting principle, we used to have a playway method, right? What happens, we used to, the teacher will take a chart and write all the principles in the chart, right? And he will cut that ஒரு நீட்டா ஒரு ஸ்கொயர் மாதிரி கட் பண்ணி அதில் எல்லா பிரின்சிபல் எழுதுவாங்க. ஒவ்வொரு சீட்டில் ஒரு பிரின்சிபல் எழுதிடுவாங்க. Then after the class, I'm saying already the principal have been taught 2 classes, 3 classes start பண்ணியாச்சு. Now we are going to take that into a playway method. So that chart paper la எழுதிடுவாங்க. Then in the class, a student will be taken at random. He will come. He will come to the into the front, and under his head the chart will be affixed. சார்ட்ல வந்து பின்னாடி சொல்லட்டை போட்டிடுவாங்க. ஸோ அவன் தலையில இப்படி ஒட்டுற மாதிரி ஒட்டிடுவாங்க. ஸோ வாட் ஹேப்பன்ஸ், இந்த டைட்டில் என்ன இருக்குன்றது அவனுக்கு தெரியாது, அந்த சார்ட்ல என்ன இருக்குன்னு அவனுக்கு தெரியாது, ஆனா அவன் தலையில தான் அது ஒட்டியிருக்கு. ஓகே, பட் ஃபார் அதர்ஸ் இட் இஸ் விசிபிள், ரைட்? நல்லா பெருசா எழுதியிருப்பாங்க போல்ட் லெட்டர்ல. ஸோ ஃபார் எவ்ரிபடி இட் இஸ் விசிபிள். ஹியர் த ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் ரோல் இஸ் டு எக்ஸ்பிளைன் வாட் த கான்செப்ட் இட் இஸ், ஸோ தட் that particular student who has been stitched, he has to tell the exact name. அந்த கான்செப்ட் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணி சொல்லுவாங்க. அந்த பையன் வந்து அந்த தலையில என்ன இருக்காங்கிறத அந்த கான்செப்ட் எக்ஸ்பிளனேஷன் புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டு அவன் கரெக்டா பதில் சொல்லணும். இப்படி சொல்லிட்டாங்கன்னா so he wins. So likewise the accounting concepts have been taught through activity method. This is also a method. Then micro teaching. Micro teaching was propounded by Dwight Allen. So what is micro teaching? Dwight Allen.
5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, so it is micro. The simple meaning is less than the small, we can say. It's not small, it's less than the small, right? Direct meaning we can't say even less than the small. It is a group of sub small strata, we can say, right? So micro teaching means a maximum of 5 to 10 minutes class have to be handled by a teacher. So what it is, maximum of 5 to 10 minutes. Or chinna concept edukanum. So in that concept, she or he has to prepare a script and demo for the class, right? So that teacher have to take maximum of 5 to 10 minutes. So range from 5 to 10 minutes. Within that, he or she has to use different teaching aids, different teaching methods, but the concept have to be taught in a crisp way. Right, that's called micro teaching. So nowadays it has been handled for training the teachers, and it has also been used for interview purpose for making demo classes, right? So that's called micro teaching. Even nowadays the conferences or seminars used to be conducted where the presenter used to be presenting for 5 to 10 minutes. Within that, he or she has to explain what the research he has done. Right.
So accounting principles or short term solution. The activity based learning.
Mnemonic words. Back, forward, MQ, CQ. Back, forward, back, BAG, back.
Back, okay.
Forward, FORD. RD, forward, MQ, CQ.
MQ, CQ.
Q. நம்ம அந்த அக்கௌண்ட்ஸ் பார்க்குறப்பையும் அது பார்ப்போம். So what is that? Micro teaching is highly effective for the classroom teaching also. So the teaching happens in 5 to 10 minutes. So next goes to the student. The ball will be put up in the student's court. So then they have to make an exploration through that concept which has been taught. For 5 to 10 minutes, students now they have to explore remaining of the time. Right?
So 5 to 10 minutes to understand full of pre-virtual.
That's up to the concept. Chinna concept we need to explain. That's based on the purpose, right? Or பெரிய கான்செப்ட் எடுத்து இன்ட்ரோ மட்டும் கொடுத்துட்டு விட முடியாது. Okay. So then students have to given more time for their discussion, for their exploration, for their interpretation, right? Under micro teaching, it is more possible. Next is blended teaching learning. So what is blended teaching learning? Blend means madakradunu artham, right? Or we can say we use both, two methods. So here what is blended teaching? We use traditional method as well as technology oriented teaching method. That's called blended teaching. Or we use traditional method in the form of technology, right? Or we can also say we use the techno oriented education through traditional pattern. So this is called blended teaching learning method. So just for example, now we are handling class. So it is physical class and thereby side by side one online class is going on. So it's called blended teaching. The other way, the class will be recorded in one particular class, whereas the students will be sitting different platform, different classrooms. So what happens during COVID-19, the students are not supposed to sit together. So if you have 70 students in a class, they have been divided. 20 students in a class, the other 20 students in the other class, the other 20 students in the other class, so that they can sit with distance, maintaining distance, right? But teacher will be handling class in only one class, handling the subject in only one class. That will be captured through camera and relayed in the other class, right? Where the teacher is using traditional method of chalk and talk method, right, or explaining or solving some, but everything is relied through online teaching mode to their student, to the students within the campus, right? This is also blended teaching learning. Even you can find some of the educational institutes have a brochure. Nowadays it has been popularized. They used to put up in the brochure itself blended teaching அப்படினே போட்டுப்பாங்க. Even brochure blended teaching nu போட்டுப்பாங்க. Even if you see in Anna Nagar, there is an institute, Raj Academy. So if you see their brochure, blended teaching method is followed. Because you have both online and offline classes, they used to exhibit like the blended teaching method, right? The next one is flipped classroom teaching. Yeah, flipped means just reverse, opposite side. Flip means opposite, right? So normal teaching, we used to give the timetable and we take a class, we give the notes to the students, and the students will study the notes, and at the end they will write the exam, and thereby they will get mark, right? This is how the normal method of classroom. But flip the classroom now, first we will conduct exam, we will assess where are they, then we will circulate the material, right? Material will be circulated. It will not be given in class. Before the class, it will be given. And class, he has to prepare and come. So in the class, material he has to prepare and come. In the class, the teaching will not happen. Rather, the teacher will take a facilitator role to handle the class, right? Facilitate பண்ணுவாங்க, to facilitate the discussion, to facilitate the GD, to facilitate the inferential drawing. So something the teacher plays a facilitator role in practical classroom. That's why in modern days, so what is the role of teacher? There is before option. Role of teacher, facilitator is the answer, right? So flipped classroom. Now most of the B school follows this. So they will get previous day, they will get the material. So what is the subject going to be discussed tomorrow and whether they will get to know. They will study, right? They will study, do some assignment, and then get you into the class. They will start with questioning. The class will start with test, right? When I was studying in D school, it happened to be in project management. So always we use the material previous day and we study. When as soon as we get into the class will start with test, and then after the test he will slowly start the concept, but it will not be taught, but rather it will be discussed. right? So it's called flipped classroom teaching, right? Next, team teaching. So what is team teaching? Yeah, it's also called as cooperative teaching. It's also called as cooperative teaching, where the teachers will be joined as a team. For example, one particular subject is handled by 5 teachers to 5 different sections, right? For example, if you take financial accounting, 5 units, but financial accounting is handled by 5 teachers to 5 different classes of BCom. Team teaching, the 5 will sit together and they will divide the units among themselves. I will take unit 1. So you can take unit 2. Mr. X can take unit 3. Likewise, they will divide and then they will get back to their business. They will prepare how to teach, which sum have to be solved, which sum have to be given as an assignment. Everything, what are the teaching aids to be used, what are the teaching methods to be used, and how the particular concept can be imparted, right? All discuss, they will prepare, and then again they will sit together and they will share what they have prepared. And they will interact, they will say, this won't be correct, let it be like this, they will change. என்னுடைய யூனிட் இது நடத்துனதுக்கு அப்புறம் நீங்க நடத்துனீங்கன்னா will be best அப்படிங்கறத ஒருத்தர் ஒப்பீனியன் சொல்வாரு. So finally they will come to a conclusion in a particular way of handling the class. So one teacher will go to the all 5 classes on based on his or her timetable and teach only unit 1. The other teacher will teach only unit 2. So thereby what happens, the teacher also become a competent in that particular unit and show strong in such a way to deliver to the students in a concrete way, right? So in team teaching and cooperative teaching, the collaboration is most important. Interaction between the teachers, the team is most important, right? Rather, the most important is documentation. Right? It's not like teaching and going and at last completing. No. So whatever happens, it has to be documented through the teaching plan or the concrete teaching outcomes, right? It's called a team teaching. The next one is interactive mode of teaching. Simple. So get interaction from the students. So as soon as you get into the class, start from interaction. And as soon as you teach any concept, and again start interaction and get to know. At the end, get a recap session from your students, right? So interactive mode of teaching. So all the phase of your teaching in 45 minutes in a classroom, interactive have to be spelled out from one phase to the other phase, right? The last one is disguised teaching. What is disguised teaching? Right? Which is not, what are all the don'ts have to be taught so that they will come to know what are the do's, right? எது செய்யக்கூடாதுன்னு சொல்லி கொடுத்தோம்னா எது செய்யணும்னு தெரியும். ஓகே, எது நல்லது இல்லைன்னு சொல்லி கொடுத்தோம்னா எது நல்லதுன்னு தெரியும். That's called a disguised teaching, right? So what means you will be handling classes and straight away you will say all the cons, all the drawbacks of that particular concept, right? And then they will start interaction. They will come to know to one particular conclusion, what are the positiveness of that particular concept. So that's called a disguised teaching. So we also have a concept type called disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment, now the person is doing a job for which he is not eligible, or his eligibility is more than what he is doing, right? Disguised unemployment. The same thing, but here it is a negative way of teaching, but the concept is to impart a positive knowledge to the students, right? Yeah. Next, different methods of learning. So one is mind map method. Mind map method, a concept or words used to be given, right? And then they will ask to think about this and tell about their perception. That's called the mind map method. It is given by Tony Buzan, right? So even psychologists used to follow this method mostly for their counseling, for their treatment, right? So counseling, இப்போ ஒரு போர்டில் ஒரு ட்ரா, அதாவது ஒரு ஸ்கை மாதிரி ஏதோ ஒன்று வரைஞ்சிட்டு ஒரு குறிப்பிட்ட வரைஞ்சிட்டு வாட் யூ திங்க் அபவுட் திஸ் அப்படின்னு கேட்பாங்க. ஸோ கேன் யூ ரைட் எ பேஜ் full of page about this அப்படின்னு கேட்பாங்க. ஸோ through that the candidate or the student will think through their experience and perception and write something. So whatever he has written, it shows his perception. It shows his or her own perception. Okay. ஒருத்தர் வந்து இப்ப இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு போர்ட்ல something is there, then what do you perceive from this அப்படின்னு சொன்னோம்னா ஒருத்தர் என்ன சொல்லுவாரு, it is a world map given with many holes. ரொம்ப ஓட்டைகள்ல இருக்கு, ரொம்ப அடையாளங்கள் இருக்கு. உலக படம் வந்து இந்த மாதிரி கொடுத்துருக்காங்க அப்படின்னா எல்லா இடத்துலயுமே பிரச்சனைகள் இருக்கு அப்படிங்கிறத இந்த படம் காட்டுது அப்படின்னு நான் சொல்லுவேன் அப்படின்னு ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட் சொல்லுவார். உடனே இது என்ன அர்த்தம்னா யூ ஆர் ஏ நெகட்டிவ் தாட், உங்களுக்கு வந்து நெகட்டிவ் மைண்ட் தாட்ஸ் அதிகமா இருக்கு அப்படிங்கிறத டீச்சர் வில் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட், ரைட்? ஸோ அதே மாதிரி நான் வந்து இதை பார்த்துட்டு இட்ஸ் a world map where it has been florized. எப்படி வந்து உலகத்துல நிலம் வந்து எப்படி ஃப்ளோரிஸ் ஆயிருக்குங்கிறத காட்டுது, மலர்ச்சி ஆயிருக்கு. ஏன்னா மற்றதெல்லாம் டல்லா இருக்கு, இது மட்டும் தான் வெளியே தெரியுது, ரைட்? த்ரூ தட் மேப். So if I say like this, you are a so positive person, you have thoughtfulness, like this is called mind map. So இதே வந்து educationல apply பண்றது, right? If I am handling education teaching aptitude, a particular concept will be given to you. So every teacher, whoever is in participant, they will be thinking in their own perception and come out with their result. Finally, the teacher will facilitate and conclude, no, it is what it is. Then conclude பண்ணுவாங்க. So thereby they can learn. That's why it is called a learning method. It is called a learning method. Next is teaching with sense of humor. Yeah, it is most important for a teacher, right? Sense of humor. So sense of humor, teaching with sense of humor makes you to learn more, makes the students to learn more, right? Even the teachers himself or herself will learn more, right? So teaching with sense of humor, it doesn't mean that you are getting into a joke, a jovial interaction. It is not so. Along with the subject, you will be interacting with a smiley face and having some comic in between with the worth of learning, right? It doesn't சம்பந்தமே இல்லாம ஜோக் அடிக்கிறது அது இல்ல, right? Sense of humor always be gelled with the students, right? Then the third method is mnemonic words. Mnemonic words. M is a silent, so we can say mnemonic words, which means the acronyms or what is that? Some letters will be taken into mind to remember that particular paragraph or particular flow of process, right? For example, as I said, your accounting principles when they can be framed out in back, forward, MQ, CQ. அப்படின்னு ஒரு framework சொன்னேன். So back, forward, MQ, CQங்கிறது ஒரு கோடு. அதை பத்தி ஒரு ஸ்டோரி, கேன் யூ டெல் மீ a story அப்படின்னு கேட்க பசங்க. So everybody will tell some story. பேங்க் எடுத்துக்கிட்டு ஃபோர்ட் கம்பெனி கார்ல போறப்ப he met with accident and hospitalized. Doctor said M cube and C cube treatment have to be given அப்படின்னு சொன்னார். So story ends. So the other student says, I got a gift from my fiancée, a good bag, and I don't want to keep the bag outside, so I hired a car to go from one place to other place. So I got a Ford car luckily when I booked it through online. So I traveled in the Ford car, right? I traveled and took the bag to home. After going to home, if I open, I got 6 gift box in the bag. So it has 3 M's and 3 C's. அப்படின்னு ஒரு கதை ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட் சொல்றாரு. Okay, so after all these, everybody will say some story by using back, forward, M cube, C cube. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு எக்ஸசைஸ் கிளாஸ்ல கண்டக்ட் பண்ணிட்டு கடைசி வந்து now let me reveal you what is in back, forward, M cube, C cube அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு நான் இப்ப சொல்ல போறேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு bag is nothing but it is accounting principle. First 3 accounting principles: business accounting concept, accounting period concept, going concern concept. Forward is nothing but next 4 principles of accounting: full disclosure, objectivity, realization, right? Dual aspect. M cube, C cube is nothing but last 6 principles of accounting. So matching principle, matching concept, money measurement concept. So finally the students will be gelled. So they will be so happy. Is that so, sir? Then not only in exam, in their life they will not forget back forward MQCQ. Right. So even I took this exercise in computer class, computer science students, where I used to handling accounts as an business accounting as an allied paper, where we had this exercise, right? So instead of directly dealing, you can use some mnemonic words to remember that principal name, that principal's name. So in exam, if I ask this question, nobody will leave that question as a choice. Since they have so been gelled with that particular concept, everybody will write in order. Order மாறி இருக்காது. 13 பிரின்சிபலுமே கரெக்டா எழுதுவாங்க. எம்காம் எம்ஃபில் படிச்சவங்க கூட தப்பா எழுதுவாங்க. பட் அந்த பசங்க கரெக்டா எழுதுவாங்க. You no need to memorize, but at the same time you can learn, right? So that's called a mnemonic words. The fourth one is Z2A approach. Z2A approach, which means it goes in reverse order, right? So always start from the last, right? Start from the abstract of the one. So instead of dealing with the entire thing, start with the abstract and get to know final last level, right? This is also a method of studying Z2A approach. Reason is that if now exam the model line முதல் லைன் மறந்துடும், தென் அடுத்து வர்றது ஃப்ளோவே வராது. மெமரைஸ் பண்ணி படிக்கிறோம், ரைட்? ஸ்டார்டிங் அந்த மாதிரி ரொம்ப பேருக்கு அந்த எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் இருக்கும். பட் இந்த Z2A அப்ரோச்ல வந்து they will not forget the first line, ரைட்? ஃபர்ஸ்ட் லைன் மறக்காது, ஆனா பின்னாடி இருந்து படிச்சுட்டு போறாங்க, ரைட்? ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வர லைன் வந்து because they are not studying first, that comes in last. So அந்த கான்செப்ட்ல வந்து so this is also a learning method. Next is role playing and scenario analysis, right? So let me ask a student to play a role as an management accountant, right? Let me give you a particular case or particular issue. If you are in a management category, so what will you do, right? Then I will ask him or her to play a role to take a decision, and likewise it goes. That's called a role playing exercise, right? Then what is that? Yeah, scenario analysis. Yeah, this also happens. Scenario analysis. Yeah, where a particular scenario will be given. Right? In the Sulalla, how will you react? Right. So, for example, you have been started in startup. You have started a startup, small business, right? Quality milk distribution. I've been start a business. So during that time, immediately Varda PL came to Chennai. Yeah, it has been Varda cyclone. Varda PL. So in this scenario, how will you take up your business? We will make him to explore and present. It's called scenario analysis, right?
So problem the remedy.
Then we'll get to know what are the problem solving skills. It can be developed. This exercise makes him to develop problem solving skills and many things he can explore, right? Next, teaching aids. So teaching aids, we can say the n number of teaching aids nowadays, right? So chart is one of the teaching aid. Flashcards, flip charts, maps, newspapers, graphs, surveys on lessons taught, audio visual aids, right? These are the teaching aids. Chart, everybody knows, right? The chart paper. So where the particular important things used to be written or graphed or some diagrams will be, it will be posted like in their classroom. It looks like whenever you get into the class, we'll get to know the learning atmosphere, right? Chart paper. Which of the following gives you learning atmosphere? Chart paper.
Which of the
following gives you learning atmosphere, right? If you get into any school or colleges, they follow pandradilla, but schools they follow pandranga. Next, flashcards. So every chart used to be prepared by the students on their own. That's the beauty. On the chart paper, they will remember the concept and they will not forget anything. That's why it's become teaching aids. So how it becomes teaching aids when the students prepare? No, it used to be facilitated by the teacher to prepare. Sometimes teacher also prepares with the chart, right, while handling classes. Class handle pandra teacher would prepare. Next, flashcard, not just they used to be have different cards. Suddenly card it. So then they have to say what color or what is written in this. Quick card they have to grasp. right? அதில் ஒரு 2 டேர்ம் மட்டும் எழுதியிருப்பாங்க, டக்குன்னு நான் காட்டிட்டு க்ளோஸ் பண்ணிடுவேன். இமிடியேட்டாக யார் பார்க்கணும் அவன் ஆன்சர் சொல்லணும். So that happens, that becomes a good teaching aid. So class எத்தனை பேர் இருந்தாலுமே it become as an attentive, attractive. Then flip charts na they used to have the same chart, but for teaching aid they will use flip na அப்படியே திருப்பி காட்டுறது. அதாவது it used to be like binded one, spiral binding மாதிரி இருக்கும், but from the top it used to be flipped. Then maps, right? Maps, the newspaper, graphs, survey on lessons thought. This is most important. Survey is on lessons thought, right? Survey எடுக்கிறதுனா is not collecting data. நம்ம lesson சொல்லி கொடுத்ததுல இருந்து what he understood, what he or she understood ங்கிறத பத்தி ஒரு survey எடுக்கிறது. It is also a teaching aid, right? So what happens, we will identify the gap and thereby subject oriented. Class எடுத்து முடிச்ச உடனே how far the concept has been reached to students. இந்த சர்வே வந்து ஒரு டெஸ்ட் வச்சு எடுக்கலாம், இல்லைன்னா ஒப்பீனியன் கலெக்ட் பண்ணலாம், ஒவ்வொருத்தவங்க வாட் யூ ஃபீல் அபவுட், ஃபீட்பேக் கலெக்ட் பண்ணலாம், ஒப்பீனியன் கலெக்ட் பண்ணலாம். டெஸ்ட் வச்சு அதுல எத்தனை பேர் கவனிச்சிருக்காங்கன்னா அவன் நல்ல மார்க் வாங்கியிருப்பான், கவனிக்காதவன் வந்து சுமாரா மார்க் வாங்கியிருப்பான். ஆன் த ஸ்பாட் டெஸ்ட் வைக்கிறது. So these things happens like surveys on lessons start. And then AV aids, audio visual aids. So it is a multimedia learning process, audio visual aids, right? So where we used to have audio visual classroom, smart classroom nowadays, smart classroom that comes under AV aids. Next, different types of teaching aids, right? Visual teaching aids under modern classroom, visual aids, audio aids, and the third one is audio visual aids. So visual aids, it happens to be like PowerPoint or any more video presentation, right? Audio aids, only flow of thoughts used to be floated overall to the other classrooms also. Audio aids, audio visual aids combining together, right? Smart classrooms, there are different types of smart classroom. Basic technology, you will have only LCD and PowerPoint. Smart classroom, that can be also called as smart classroom. Intermediate smart technology, right, where the students and teacher can interact through the board, right? Advanced smart technology. So intermediate smart technology within the campus is possible, but advanced even outside the campus, outside the national boundary is possible, right? This is called classroom, smart classroom. Next, principles of audio visual aids. The first and foremost page is like a checklist. So any AV aids, just not for the grade or NAC visit. So they used to have some AV hall. No, it is not so. So they have to follow some principle. So here, principle of fulfillment of objective, right? So for what purpose the class is, right? So instead of taking chalk and talk method, and purposefully I am using audio visual since the facility is available. No, it is not so. So principle of fulfillment of objective. What is the purpose of taking the students to AV room or AV hall? Or principle, whether it is that meeting with the purpose or not, the objective or not, right? இப்போ நான் கிளாஸ்ல வந்து entrepreneurship பத்தி எடுக்கணும்னா ஒரு intro class கொடுக்கறேன்னா it won't be so much effective by using chalk and talk method alone, right? chalk and ஒரு போர்டில் வந்து entrepreneurship பத்தி ஒரு introduction ஒரு எஃபெக்டிவா கொடுக்கணும்னா வெறும் போர்டில் எழுதி போட்டு மட்டும் ஒரு எஃபெக்டிவா இன்ட்ரோடக்ஷன் கொடுக்க முடியாது. ஸோ அதனால வந்து the objective is taking the entrepreneurship as an interesting subject to the students. Then we can use audio visual aids as a teaching aid. அப்ப நான் என்ன பண்ணுவேன், entrepreneurship பத்தி ஒரு கிளாஸ் ஆரம்பிக்கிறப்பயே ஒரு எனர்ஜெட்டிக் ஒரு வீடியோ பிளே பண்ணுவேன் with music. So it is not 40 minutes or 45 minutes, only 5 to 10 minutes sudden. Then I will start the class. Then in between I will play the other video to give motivation about entrepreneurship. So it helps. That's called fulfillment of objectives, right? அதே நான் ட்ரேடிங் அக்கௌண்ட், ப்ராஃபிட் அண்ட் லாஸ் அக்கௌண்ட், சம் ஃபைனல் அக்கௌண்ட் எடுக்கிறேன், நான் போர்டு ஐ டோன்ட் வாண்ட், லெட் மீ டேக் தம் டு ஆடியோ விசுவல் ரூம். ஆடியோ விசுவல்ல இது டெபிட்ல வரும், கிரெடிட்ல வரும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு போயிடலாம். பட் தே வில் நாட் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட். த பர்பஸ் இஸ் த ஃபுல்ஃபில்மெண்ட் ஆஃப் அப்ஜெக்டிவ் ஹேவ் டு பி met. Otherwise, the AV room is just for a sake, right? Second is principle of selection, right? So which one you select? So what is that? For what purpose it is? Is that meeting your objective, your purpose? Yeah. So that is called principle of selection and principles of effectiveness. So from the students or learners point of view, is that reached them effectively or not? Right? So principle of effectiveness. So these three principles, if you are following AV aids in as a teaching aid, these three principles have to be satisfied, not anyone. All the three have to be satisfied. Right? And then different types of learner, or we can also say learning style. So normally we have three types of learner: auditory learner, visual learner, and kinesthetic learner. That's one type general. Auditory learner, they always learn through auditory process. கேட்டுட்டே லேர்ன் பண்ணுவான், ரைட்? எதுவுமே எழுத மாட்டான், அமைதியாக உட்காந்துருப்பான். பட் நல்லா கவனிச்சு நல்லா கேட்டுட்டு they will learn. Visual learner, they learn only by seeing. ஸோ அவனுக்கு பிபிடி போட்டு காட்டினா he will listen. போர்டில் கலர் கலராக எழுதி காட்டினா he will listen. போர்டில் எது எழுதி போட்டாலும் அதை நோட் பண்ணிக்குவான். ஸோ that is called visual learner. Kinesthetic learner is a group of learner who always thinks, who always active, right? Who always moves from one place to the other place. They are called as kinesthetic learner. Right? Move. They always move from one place to other place. That's called a kinesthetic learner. So basically these three types, but apart from that, including that, there are four more, totally 7 types, right? So kinesthetic learner always move from one place to other place. In between, he will ask you to go to restroom, to request you to leave him to restroom, which means he doesn't carry really the urgent need, but he wants to move from one place to other place, so he wants to go out. So that could be the reason. So that's why the kinesthetic learner have to be handled in such a way that they have to be moved from one bench to the other bench, or just ask him to clean the board. That is also a method of handling kinesthetic learner. Just praise him by clapping, right? Make him to clap, make him to stand, make him to move his body, hands, some way, yeah, that's called, so that you can engage the kinesthetic learner. Visual learner engage, you need to use the board, you need to use the slide, you need to use the screen, right? Auditory learner engage, you need to pronounce correctly, you need to, your flow of thoughts should be correct. கரெக்டாக பேசணும், அவன்கிட்ட ஃப்ளோ கரெக்டாக இருக்கணும். ஃப்ளோ மாறிச்சுன்னா அவன் நல்லா கவனிப்பான், ரைட்? பிச், வாய்ஸ் பிச் வந்து ஹையாகவும் இருக்கணும், லோவாகவும் இருக்கணும், மாற்றி மாற்றி இருக்கணும். ஸோ கான்க்ரீட் ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் சொல்லணும், அதெல்லாம் சொன்னோம்னா he listens, right? They are called as auditory learner. So as I said, first one is visual learner. It is also called as spatial learner. Spatial learner. Visual learners always prefer using pictures, images, and spatial understandings, right? General பக்கத்துல பாருவான், வெளியவே பார்த்துட்டு இருப்பான். They are called as visual learner. Oral learner. Oral learner is also called as auditory and musical learner. Oral learner. So which means they prefer using sounds and music always. Right? Verbal learner is also known as linguistic learner. These students prefer to use words, both speech and writing. They always prefer the other languages, movies, other language dialogues. Verbal learner. So that's why it is called as linguistic learner. The kinesthetic learner, which I said as a third, it is known as physical learner. So they prefer using their body, hands, and sense of touch. Suma boy munduku tatti kudutha kuda he will feel so happy, he will be engaged with the learning. Logical learner is also known as mathematical learner. They always use logic, reasoning, and systems, right? Without that, they will not be engaged, right? So if you are handling some theory subject, put up any equation so that they will be engaged, they will be learning, right? Then social learner. Social learner is also known as interpersonal learner. Social learner is also known as interpersonal learner, right? Nalla, he develops good relationship among the people. தெரியாத ஆள்கிட்ட கூட நல்லா போய் பேசுவான், நல்லா ஒரு ஜெல் ஆகிக்குவான். பக்கத்து கிளாஸ் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ்க்குலாம் ரொம்ப பேர் வச்சிருப்பான், ரைட்? வேற காலேஜ் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் வச்சிருப்பான். ஸோ தட்ஸ் கால்டு சோசியல் ஆர் இன்டர்பர்சனல் லேர்னர். Solitary learner is also called as intrapersonal. Intrapersonalனா தனிமையை விரும்புவான். You want to work alone. You don't want to mingle with others. Teamwork kuda set agadu. He used self-study concept. He used learning by doing concept. He used assignment writing and project doing on his own. So these things he used for his to engage himself, right, into the learning process. Next is multiple intelligence. So it is given by Howard Gardner. The name is important, Howard Gardner, right? What he has says that everybody is intelligent. That's what he says. All are intelligent, but only thing on what you are intelligent is the question that you have to identify, right? So Howard Gardner has released a set of questionnaire, bunch of questionnaires, first bunch of questions as a questionnaire in the website. It is available for free of download. You can download it and fill immediate action. Question, what is your immediate reaction? That fill பண்ணணும். Immediate reaction fill பண்ணனா last if you count, you will come to know which type of intelligent you are. நீங்க எந்த இன்டெலிஜென்ட்ங்கிறது அது மூலமாவே தெரிஞ்சிடும். And the questionnaire you try for you also, you can try to your class students also. So normally what happens, this type of exercise used to be done in the beginning of the year. School ஆரம்பிக்கிறப்ப இல்ல காலேஜ் கிளாஸ் ஆரம்பிக்கிறப்ப இதை பண்ணுவாங்க first day. Then we will segregate the students into different types of intelligence, right? So there are different types of intelligence. Kinesthetic intelligence, they are called as bodily smart. Interpersonal intelligence called as people smart. Linguistic intelligence called as word smart. நல்லா poem எழுதுவான், poetry எழுதுவான். சின்னதா ரெண்டு கான்செப்ட் சொன்னோம்னா கரெக்டா 4 பக்கத்தை எழுதி கொண்டு வரணும். So word concept, linguistic learner. Mathematical intelligence, they are called as logical concept. Naturalistic intelligence are called as nature smart. Intrapersonal intelligence is called self smart. Visual intelligence are called picture smart. Right? Musical intelligence are called music smart. Okay. So these are the intelligence. One may have more than one intelligence also. A same person can have multiple intelligence. That is possible. That is a possibility. Possibilities are there. You just check the questionnaire among yourself, download the questionnaire and fill it, and get to know where are you, which type of intelligent you are. But sometime you will be fall under more than two intelligence also. It is possible. It is highly possible for every human being, particularly for the teachers, right? You may be good in various aspects, but in college you are using only one particular aspect, one or two few particular aspects. So this is called, yeah, multiple intelligence. So you need to make a note, you need to make a mark for different types of intelligence. The class நம்ம பண்ண உடனே கிளாஸ் வந்து ஒரு 70 பேர் இருக்காங்க. 70 பேரையுமே who is kinesthetic, who is musical, who is language logic smart, who is word smart அப்படின்னு பிரிக்கணும். பிரிச்சிட்டோம்னா it is not going to be permanent, but still for the teacher understanding it has to be classified. கிளாஸிஃபை பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் இப்ப நான் ஒரு சப்ஜெக்ட் எடுக்க போறேன், ஒரு கான்செப்ட் எடுத்து சொல்ல தர போறேன்னா இந்த எல்லாருக்குமே அட்ரஸ் பண்ற மாதிரி என்னுடைய லெசன் பிளான், எல்லாரையும் அட்ரஸ் பண்ற மாதிரி நான் டீச்சிங் எய்ட்ஸ் ரெடி பண்ணிட்டு வரணும். ஒரே கிளாஸ்ல கினஸ்தெட்டிக் இன்டெலிஜென்ட்டும் இருப்பான், இன்ட்ராபர்சனலும் இருப்பான், இன்டர்பர்சனலும் இருப்பான், அப்படின்னா மல்டிபிள் இன்டெலிஜென்ஸ் இருக்கிறவங்களும் இருப்பாங்க. ஸோ அவனை வந்து டீச்சிங் அண்ட் லேர்னிங் ப்ராசஸ்ல என்கேஜ் பண்ணணும்னா அதுக்கு நான் எப்படி ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணணும், டீச்சர் எப்படி ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணணும், that's where most important, right? Multiple intelligence la teacher role to address the multiple intelligence. Students feels to bunk the classes because their intelligence are not used in the class. Students fails to attend the class only for attendance sake, not to listen your class. So because they feel their intelligence are not used protectively. So that's why, so what happens, they used to bunk the class, they used to miss the class, they used to avoid the class, or even if they attend the class, their mind used to be flowing somewhere else, right? So as a good teacher, we should be able to use their multiple intelligence a different way. So this slide will make you to understand where they can be excel. For example, if you are a good visual and spatial learner, you can be excel in shapes, designs, graphics and visualization. So you can be a good designer, you can be a good architecture, you can be a good engineer, right? So if you are a musical intelligent, your excellence in performing and composing musical pieces. So you can be a good singer, you can be a good musical composer, and you can be a good problem solver also. Nalla panchayathu thirthu vaippar musical learners.
Musical learner.
And such a way he used to be engaged. பெரிய பெரிய பிரச்சனைகள்லாம் அவர் சிம்பிளா சால்வ் பண்ணிடுவார். Next, interpersonal intelligent. They are the one who has the ability to organize people. Yeah, group activities they do well. They perform well in the group activities. They are good in social relationship. So they are eligible to become as a leader, social worker, politician. Right. Intrapersonal is the person who has the ability to understand one's own inner feelings and have self-realization and to know about oneself. It's called intrapersonal. They can be a good philosopher, they can become a good clergyman, right? So likewise, and they can be a good writer, good thinker, right? And logical intelligent are always excels in maths and logical thinking, right? So they can be a good banker, good accountant, right? And then kinesthetic intelligence are always excels in performing sports, right? That particularly the outdoor games, right? So physical activities and body movements are huge for them. So they can become as an actor or they can become as an athletic, right? So naturalist intelligence, they always loves animals, plants and nature, right? And they also understands the natural world. So we can say Yako Nammalvar, right? So it comes under naturalist, right? They can become a good biologist, they can become a good conservationist, right? Then linguistic intelligence, whoever has, they are always good in excels in words, languages, poetry. So they can become a good writer, they can become a good poem and poetry, poets, right? So these are different multiple intelligence. Yes, called as MI, multiple intelligence. Do you have any doubt as of now? Did you understand? Yeah. So 1.5 hours age. Good. Right. Now evaluation system. No, 1.5 hours age. We started 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late. About 1 hour, 15 minutes late. Now next is evaluation system. Yeah, evaluation system. So there are different types of evaluation we have, right? So first we need to know what are the elements of evaluation. One is, first and foremost element is systematic collection of evidence. So that's why what happens in the examination hall, a teacher or the invigilator will come to know what are the systematic collection of evidence, hall ticket, signing and getting the answer sheet filled by the students, and thereby the invigilator also will sign, right? Collecting the answer sheet, putting the mark, and having the double valuation and recording the mark, seeing the average progress. So all these things comes under systematic collection of evidence. So whatever you give, without evidence you can't sanction anything. So in the evaluation system, systematic collection of evidence is must, basic element. Second, interpretation. Third, judgment of values. Fourth, with a view to action, which means conclusion oriented. So all evaluations should have these elements, right? And then types of evaluation. Normally we have two types. One is formative evaluation and the other one is summative evaluation. Yeah, formative evaluation used to happen as a continuous internal assessment basis, right? Which means it used to be part of classroom, right? It is not that separate exams used to be conducted, right? So formative assessment and the summative assessment is nothing but end-term assessment. So it is always closed book exam. You need to go take hall ticket, get into the hall exam hall, sit and get the question paper and write the answer to the level best. all workings and everything have to be shown separately. Everything will be followed by it. But formative assessment, it is not so. But formative assessment, it is not so. So what they used to do into formative assessment? Yeah, it is a continuous. Even in class, if I ask someone, yeah, Krishna, get up. So what did you understand? Can you explain briefly? If he says, then okay, let me give 2 marks for his performance. So this is called formative assessment. It is an ongoing process of class. Right? Formative assessment. These two are major type of assessment. Apart from that, there are few more type. One is placement assessment, comes under function. Based on functions, there are 4: placement, formative, diagnostic, and summative. Right? Summative is term and exam. Semester எழுதுறோம்ல. நம்ம எல்லாம் 6 மாசமா படிச்சதுல ஒரு வருஷமா படிச்சது ஒரே டைம்ல போய் எழுதலாம். It's called summative exam. That's why nowadays even the self-finance or autonomous colleges have given equal weightage for summative as well as formative. Right? For Laila College, if you take internal 50% weightage, external 50% weightage. So if you perform good in class, if you perform good with the faculty and good interactive with the faculty, get to know all the answers or questions during the rising quality questions during the class. Everything part of formative assessment, right? Your class participation also carries mark. Okay. So what is next? Placement evaluation according to function. It happens for career development, right? Placement and training, right? And then diagnostic evaluation, which means some students fail in formative assessment. Right, Saria Gavanikala sir, I'm not feeling well. Last 1 week I could not attend you in the class. So I failed in your formative assessment. Yeah, I understand your position. Yeah, let me conduct some more tests and please prepare well. Then we again conduct. This is called diagnostic assessment. It can be for their improvement. I have written the exam for improvement. Right? Diagnosis.
Formative lesson mark summative test mark.
Correct. Formative is assessment. Summative is exam. We can say like that, right? Next is based on nature of reference or interpretation. There are 2 types: norm-referenced evaluation and criterion referenced evaluation. Non-referenced evaluation and criterion referenced evaluation, right? So follow some norm to give the mark. Don't give just like that. 10 mark எழுதிருக்கானா right, 6 mark போடுவோம். நல்ல sketch போட்டு எழுதிருக்கானா right, 8 mark போடுவோம். Don't have that. So have the norm. இது எழுதிருந்தா இது இந்த பாயிண்ட் இருக்கனால let me give him mark. இது இல்லாதனால நான் மார்க் குறைச்சிருக்கேன். Norm reference, criterion reference. Have some criteria. Right, so these things happens. This is based on reference and interpretations. Next, what are the functions of evaluation? There are 4 major functions. One is crediting, certifying, promoting, and selecting. So crediting means we are awarding, which means exam mark release பண்றோம்ல, that is called crediting. Certifying him, we are awarding his degree. Promoting, we are promoting him from one stage to the other stage. UG முடிச்சிட்டு PG அனுப்புறோம். நான் first year முடிச்சிட்டு second year promoting. Then selecting. Keep it in order la இந்த question கேட்கலாம். Right? Keep it in order la கேட்டா first selecting தான் முதல்ல எழுதுவோம். அப்படி இல்ல. First வந்து crediting.
Satisfying,
certifying, certificate. Certifying, promoting, and selecting. Right? And then different types of learning disabilities. இதுல வந்து நமக்கு அடிக்கடி questions கேட்கறான். Learning disabilities. So what are the learning disabilities do we have? What are the learning disabilities do we have? Yeah. So there are varieties of learning disabilities. Good. So the one side, left-hand side, whatever is given is neurological based problem, right? Neurological based. The other one is related disorders. One irundha innonu varum. Related disorders is common for all. எல்லாருக்குமே இருக்குது அங்க ஒன்னு இல்லாம இன்னொன்னு இருக்கும். அதனால we can't say it is for a deceased person சொல்ல முடியாது. But still you have been affected. Related disorders, right? Neurological disorder நரம்பு சம்பந்தமானது, இல்ல நம்ம உடல் சம்பந்தமானது. Related problems can be mind, right? Now take down. The first one is APD. APD means auditory processing disorder. Auditory processing disorder, or this also being stated as CAPD. CAPD na central auditory processing disorder. So they have been disadvantaged by oral functions. சரியா கேட்க முடியாது, எக்கோ அடிக்கும் அவங்க கேட்கறது. So that's called auditory processing disorder. Then dyscalculia. Dyscalculia means the people who are so allergic with numbers and maths. Dyscalculia na நம்பர் பார்த்தாலே அலர்ஜி ஆயிரும். மேக்ஸ் சப்ஜெக்ட் சுட்டு போட்டாலும் வராது, குவான்டிடேட்டிவ் பேப்பர் வராது, ஸ்டாட்டிஸ்டிக்ஸ் வராது. ஸோ அது வந்து டிஸ்கால்குலியா, அந்த பேர், அந்த டிசீஸ் பேர், அந்த டிசபிலிட்டி பேர். நெக்ஸ்ட் வந்து டிஸ்கிராஃபியா. டிஸ்கிராஃபியானா ஹேண்ட் ரைட்டிங் எபிலிட்டி அண்ட் ஃபைன் மோட்டார் ஸ்கில்ஸ் வந்து இருக்காது, கம்மியா இருக்கும். டிஸ்கிராஃபியா, ரைட்? எழுத்து ஒழுங்கா எழுத முடியாது, போனலாம் எழுதுவான். டாக்டரை சொல்லிடக்கூடாது, நார்மலா வந்து ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் வந்து ஒரு ஆர்டர்லயே எழுத மாட்டாங்க. ஓகே, இப்போ உதாரணத்துக்கு உங்க நேம் வந்து கரெக்டா அந்த பேஜுக்கு சென்டர்ல எழுதுங்கன்னா நமக்கே தெரியும் எங்க ஆரம்பிக்கணும் எங்க முடிக்கிறது. பட் இந்த டிஸ்கிராஃபியா இருக்கிறவங்க வந்து எங்கேயோ ஒரு இடத்துல ஆரம்பிச்சு சென்டராகவே எழுதிருக்க மாட்டான். சென்டர்ல எழுதுங்க, இல்லை ரைட் சைட்ல எழுதுங்க. இட் யூஸ் டு பி டிஸ்கிராஃபியா, ரைட்? அண்ட் ஏதாவது நெக்ஸ்ட் ஒரு சிஸ்டம் இருக்காது எழுதுறதுல. நெக்ஸ்ட் டிஸ்லெக்சியா. டிஸ்லெக்சியா, ஃபோர்த் ஒன் இஸ் டிஸ்லெக்சியா, விச் மீன்ஸ் reading and language based learning disability. So dyslexia is reading and language based disability. LPD is language processing disorder, right? It is also called as APD. The other way, APD கூட LPD treat பண்ணலாம். Auditory process disorder. LPD means language processing disorder. So language you can have two types. One is expressive language, the other one is receptive language. Expressive language, the other one is receptive language. Language processing disorder la expressive language na ipo enakku and disorder irukna express panna mudiyadhu. Okay, receptive disorder na yaradhu express pandradha ennala receive panna mudiyadhu.
Language
processing disorder irukku. அதாவது language processing disorder இருக்கிறவங்களுக்கு கரெக்டா அவனால வந்து சொல்ல முடியாது. வைரமுத்து வந்து ஒரு காதல் கவிதையில எழுதியிருப்பார், எனக்குன்னா லாங்குவேஜ் ப்ராசஸிங் டிசார்டர் வந்துருச்சு, அவனை பார்க்கும் பொழுதெல்லாம் என் காதலை சொல்ல முடியவில்லை. ஓகே, திஸ் இஸ் கால்ட் எக்ஸ்பிரசிவ் டிசார்டர். ரிசெப்டிவ் டிசார்டர்னா இன்னொருத்தவங்க சொல்றதை நம்மளால வந்து ஏத்துக்க முடியாது, நமக்கு உள்ளவே போகாது, நாம வேற யோசனையிலேயே இருப்போம். ரிசெப்டிவ் டிசார்டர். So the other one is NVLD, non-verbal learning disabilities. Non-verbal learning disabilities. Yeah. So what they used called as higher verbal skills, weaker motor skills, right? Visual, spatial and social skills எல்லாமே அவருக்கு கம்மியா இருக்கு. Non-verbal learning disabilities, NVLD. Next, visual perceptual or visual motor deficit. Visual motor deficit. ஒன்னு பாக்குறான்னா அது என்ன பாக்குறாங்கிறது அவனுக்கு டக்குன்னு அவனால புரிஞ்சுக்க முடியாது. visual motor deficit. So he has a problem of seeing, drawing, or copying. Right. This is also a part of dysgraphia. This is also a part of dysgraphia or non-verbal learning disability. This is also visual motor deficit is also part of dysgraphia and non-verbal learning disability. Right? Did you understand till now? Next is related disorders. So what are the related disorders? So ADHD, staying focused and paying attention. Staying focused and paying attention. Right? So ADHD, அது என்ன சொல்லுவாங்கன்னா hyperactive disorder. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. அவருக்கு என்ன ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்குன்னா அவனால கரெக்டா அட்டென்டிவா இருக்க முடியாது, ஃபோக்கஸ்டா இருக்க முடியாது, அட்டென்டிவா இருக்க முடியாது. ரைட்? difficulty controlling behavior, hyperactive. Next is dyspraxia. Dyspraxia means difficulty in muscle control, right, which causes movement and coordination, language and speech exist along with dyslexia. Dyslexia நம்ம ஒரு disease பார்த்தோம் இல்லையா, அதோட dyspraxiaவும் சேர்ந்து dyspraxia, right? Body movement. Dyslexia. Dyslexia dyspraxiaவும் சேர்ந்து. Next, executive hunting. Executive hunting means inefficiency in cognitive management systems of brain. Inefficiency in cognitive management systems of brain. Right? It paying attention to and remembering details and managing time and space. இதில் எல்லாமே ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்கும். ஒன்று inefficiency in cognitive management system of brain. Second, paying attention to and remembering details and managing time and space. The problem is that's called executive hunting. Right. Next, memory power.
Executive
hunting. Hunting. H-U-N-T-I-N-G. Hunting. Next, memory power. Working memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. We have 3 types of memory. மூணுதுலையுமே difficulty இருக்கும். ஷார்ட்-டர்ம் மெமரியில ஒர்க்கிங் மெமரி இருக்கும், லாங்-டர்ம் மெமரியில ஷார்ட்-டர்ம் மெமரி இருக்கும். லாங்-டர்ம் மெமரி இருக்க வேண்டிய இடத்துல ஷார்ட்-டர்ம் மெமரி இருக்கும். ஷார்ட்-டர்ம் மெமரி இருக்க வேண்டிய இடத்துல ஒர்க்கிங் மெமரி இருக்கும். மிக்ஸ் ஆகி இருக்கும், இல்லைன்னா சம்மந்தம் இல்லாம டைல்யூட் ஆகி இன்னொரு இடத்துல போய் உட்காந்து. தட்ஸ் கால்டு மெமரி பவர் டிசார்டர். ரைட்? மிங்கிள் ஆகிருக்கும். அதாவது அவனால பிரிக்க முடியாது, எது நம்ம லாங் டர்மா ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கிறது, எது ஷார்ட் டர்மா ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கிறது, எது அது பிரிக்க முடியாது. இன்னொன்று மாறி மாறி வச்சிருக்கோம். ஒர்க்கிங் மெமரியை லாங் டர்ம் மெமரிஸ்ல, ஷார்ட் டர்ம் மெமரியில இருக்கும். அது அந்த மாதிரி ப்ராப்ளம் இருந்துச்சுன்னா தட்ஸ் கால்ட் மெமரி பவர் டிசார்டர். Next is nomophobia. Nomophobia is a disease related to mobile phone technology, right? Advancement of technology. இப்ப சம்மன் எங்கேயாவது ஒரு இடத்துல கார் டர்ன் ஆகும், உடனே அந்த மியூசிக் கேட்ட உடனே நம்ம போன் எடுத்து பார்ப்போம், ஒருவேளை நம்ம போன்ல ஏதாவது வந்துருச்சாங்க. அதே மாதிரி லைட்டா அந்த வாட்ஸ்அப் சவுண்டு கேட்டுச்சுன்னா ஏதாவது முக்கியமானது, ஒண்ணுமே முக்கியமானது இருக்காது, நமக்கே தெரியும் அன்னைக்கு ஃபுல்லா எதுவுமே முக்கியமானது வராதுன்னு. பட் இருந்தாலும் we have a tendency to open, right? அதே மாதிரி நம்ம கையில நம்ம பக்கத்துல மொபைலே இருக்காது, டக்குன்னு எதாவது சவுண்ட் வந்துச்சுன்னா மொபைலை தேடுவோம். ரைட்? நமக்கு நல்லா தெரியும் மொபைல் அங்க வச்சுட்டு வந்து அந்த ஹால்ல இருக்கு, நம்ம இங்க இருக்கோம், இருந்தாலும் we used to have. That's called nomophobia. ரைட்? இப்போ ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்ட்டு ஒரு ஃபோன் வாங்கி டேபிள் மேல வச்சிருங்களேன், ஒரு அரை மணி நேரத்துல அவன் முகத்தை பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அப்படியே கரண கொடூரமா இருப்பான். அவன் கிளாஸே கவனிக்க முடியாது அவனால. என்ன போனை வாங்கி வச்சுட்டாரு, கொடுக்க மாட்டாரு, we used to confiscate their mobile if they use in classroom earlier. முன்னாடி 2 years 1 year முன்னாடி கோவிட் முன்னாடி வந்து ஃபோன் வந்து காலேஜ்ல யூஸ் பண்ணக்கூடாது ரூல்ஸ். யூஸ் பண்ணோம்னா நாம எடுத்து வச்சிருவோம். கிளாஸ் முடிஞ்சவொடனே தான் கொடுப்போம். அப்போ வந்து அவனால கிளாஸ் அட்டன் பண்ண முடியாது. நான் ஒன்றும் பார்க்க மாட்டேன்ப்பா, அப்படிதான்ப்பா இருக்கும், நீ அப்புறம் வாங்கிக்கலாம்னு சொன்னா கூட கேட்க மாட்டான். சார் ப்ளீஸ் சார் கொடுங்க சார் கேட்டுட்டே இருப்பான். அதனால கவனிக்க முடியாது சார். திஸ் இஸ் கால்ட் நோமோஃபோபியா. நெக்ஸ்ட் paranoid disorder. Paranoid disorder. Paranoid disorder யாரோ நம்மள பார்க்க வர்ற மாதிரி, நம்மளே பார்த்துட்டு இருக்க மாதிரி தெரியுது, யாரோ நம்மை கிராஸ் பண்ண மாதிரி தெரியுது, அங்க ஏதோ ஒன்று ஆடிட்டே இருக்கு, அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் ஒரு ஃபீலிங் இருக்கும். Paranoid disorder. என் கூட யாரோ இருக்கிற மாதிரியே இருக்கு. So it's called paranoid disorder. Imagine பண்றது. Right. Next வந்து hippopotamus phobia. Hippopotamus phobia வந்து it's related to long term lengthy words, lengthy sentence, right? Reading long line, right? Writing a lengthy page. Hippopotamus is actually நான் வந்து simplify போட்டு எடுத்து போட்டிருக்கேன், but still it has these 4 words: hippopoto, monstro, sesquipedalio and phobia. இந்த 4 term வந்து 4மே வேற வேர்ட்ஸ் இல்ல, 4மே ஒரே வேர்ட், ரைட்? ஸோ அதை வந்து ஷார்ட் ஃபார்ம்ல இங்கே போட்டிருக்கேன். திஸ் இஸ் ஒன் டைப் ஆஃப் ரிலேட்டட் டிசார்டர். ஸோ இது என்ன அர்த்தம்னா ஃபியர் ஆஃப் லாங் வேர்ட்ஸ், பெரிய வார்த்தையை பார்த்து பயப்படுறது. ஃபியர் ஆஃப் மான்ஸ்டர்ஸ், ஃபியர் ஆஃப் ஹார்சஸ், ஃபியர் ஆஃப் ஹிப்போஸ். இந்த 4தையும் சேர்ந்தது தான் ஹிப்போபொட்டமஸ், ட்ரூஸ். ஆக்சுவலா அது சிங்கிள் வேர்ட். இது எத்தனை லெட்டர் இருக்கு பாருங்க, லென்த்தி சிங்கிள் வேர்ட் அப்படின்னு சொல்லலாம். ரைட். Have any doubt till now? Do you have any doubt till now? Yeah.
சார் அந்த NVLD சொல்றீங்கல்ல சார்?
NVLD யா?
நான் வெர்பல் லேர்னிங் டிசபிலிட்டின்னு சொல்றீங்கல்ல சார், அவங்க வந்துட்டு இப்போ டிராயிங்ல வந்து பெட்டரா இருப்பாங்க அந்த மாதிரி சொல்றீங்களா சார்? அந்த
கரெக்ட். அதாவது வாட் ஹேப்பன்ஸ், நான் வெர்பல் வெர்பல்ல தான் அவங்க நான் வெர்பல் லேர்னிங் டிசபிலிட்டிஸ்னா டிராயிங்ல நல்லா வராது. அதாவது அதுல என்ன சொல்லியிருக்காங்கன்னா வீக்கர் மோட்டார் ஸ்கில்ஸ் அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க. இன்னொன்னு விசுவல், ஸ்பேசியல் அண்ட் சோசியல் ஸ்கில்ஸ் எல்லாமே அவங்களுக்கு வராது. நான் இப்ப சொன்னது எல்லாமே அவங்களுக்கு வராது. நான் வெர்பல் லேர்னிங் டிசபிலிட்டிஸ். எது சொன்னாலுமே அவங்களுக்கு வேர்டா எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணணும். அவங்க கிட்ட ஏதாவது பிக்சர் காட்ட எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணா ஐ வில் நாட் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட், they cannot understand. நீங்க சொன்னதுல எல்லாமே அவங்க வீக்கா இருப்பாங்க. they used to be weak in that particular area.
ஓகே சார். அதனால பிக்சர் வந்து அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ணிக்க முடியாது, ஆனா வேர்டா நாம சொல்லும்போது
வேர்டா வந்து they will understand.
ஓகே சார்.
பட் இதுல என்னன்னா அவங்களுக்கு ஹேண்ட் ரைட்டிங்கும் சரியா வராது. ஏன்னா ஹேண்ட் ரைட்டிங் இஸ் ரிலேட்டட் டு visual or what is that graph, right? something drawing அந்த மாதிரி வருது இல்லையா? ஹேண்ட் ரைட்டிங் வந்து ஃபிக்ஸ்டு லெட்டரா எழுதுவாங்க. சில பேர் கேபிட்டல் லெட்டராவே எழுதி பழக்கம். ஒரு ஆர்டர்லயே எழுத மாட்டாங்க, அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கும். So those comes under non-verbal learning disability.
Okay sir, thank you sir.
Yeah, any more doubt? Good
sir.
Yeah, yes
sir. Visual motor deficient na enna sir?
Visual motor deficit அதாவது seeing, drawing and copyingல வந்து அவங்களுக்கு drawback இருக்கும். seeing, drawing or copying கண்ணுக்கு தெரியுறது, ரைட்? பாக்குறது, டிரா பண்றது. ஒரு பேஜை கொடுத்து அதை அப்படியே காப்பி பண்ணி இன்னொரு பேஜ்ல எழுதுன்னு சொன்னாங்கன்னா அவனுக்கு 1 மணி நேரம் ஆகும். அவனால காப்பி பண்ணி ஒழுங்கா எழுத முடியாது. ஒரு லைனை விட்டு இன்னொரு லைன் போயிடுவாங்க. நமக்கே சில நேரத்துல வந்துருக்கோம், கவனிச்சிருக்கீங்களா? அதை படிக்கிறப்ப, வாசிக்கிறப்ப ஒரு லைனை விட்டு இன்னொரு லைன், இல்லைன்னா படிச்ச லைனே இன்னொரு வாட்டி வரும். அது வந்து நமக்கு தெரியாம நடக்குது. பட் இவங்களுக்கு வந்து அது இப்படியே ஆகும். எல்லா இடத்துலயும் அப்படி ஆகும். visual perceptual or visual motor deficit.
Okay sir.
Okay. Yeah, any more doubt? Good
sir.
Yes.
கார்ட்ஸா ஷார்ட்ஸா ஏதோ சொன்னீங்களே சார், அப்படின்னா என்ன சார்?
Flip charts. Flip charts na, yeah, I can show you in flip charts. So what is that? Flip charts. So what happens? The spiral வந்து டாப்ல இருக்கும். Spiral வந்து டாப்ல இருக்கும். Flip charts. It's a teaching aid. Spiral டாப்ல இருக்கும். இதுல வந்து ரொம்ப பேजेस இருக்கும். So class எடுக்கிறப்ப நான் என்ன பண்ணுவேன்னா, so I will tell you, I will ask them a question, right? And இதுல ஒரு question இருக்கு. இதுல question இருக்குன்னு அஸ்யூம் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. I will ask them a question. Then you need to tell me the answer. ஒருத்தங்களா ஒரு ஆன்சர் சொல்லுவாங்க. At last I will show you the answer in the next page. This is called flip chart. Right? இந்த ஆன்சருக்கு இன்னொரு கொஸ்டின் நான் இங்கேயே இன்னொரு கொஸ்டின் கேட்டிருப்பேன். இந்த ஆன்சர் இதுவா இருந்துச்சுன்னா இந்த கொஸ்டினுக்கு என்ன ஆன்சர் இந்த மாதிரி கேட்டிருப்பேன். நான் சும்மா ஒரு கொஸ்டின் ஆன்சர் செஷனுக்காண்டி இந்த ஃபிளிப் சார்ட் யூஸ் பண்றேன். இதே வந்து ரெகுலர் கிளாஸ்க்கு யூஸ் பண்ணலாம். ரைட்? கேட்டுட்டு then everybody will know sir it is like this no it should be like this அப்படின்னுவாங்க. Then I will show you the other thing. This is called flip charts. Chart paper தான். It used to have a flow. ஒரு ஸ்டோரி மாதிரி இருக்கும். இல்லைன்னா ஒரு கான்செப்ட் ஃப்ளோ மாதிரி இருக்கும். Right? It used to have a flow. Right? Did you understand? Yeah.
क्वेश्चन இருக்க பேஜ்ல பின்னாடி ஆன்சர் இருக்குமா சார்?
பேக் சைடுல நெக்ஸ்ட் சீட்ல வந்து ஆன்சர் இருக்கும். இல்லனா ஒரு கான்செப்ட் சொல்லிட்டு வந்து ஒரு சைடுல வந்து கான்செப்ட் இருக்கும், இன்னொரு சைடுல எக்ஸாம்பிள் இருக்கும். பட் எக்ஸாம்பிள்ல வந்து அவனுக்கு காட்ட விரும்பலனா கான்செப்ட் மட்டும் காட்டிட்டு I will ask them to tell the example from the student. Student will tell me the example. அதுக்கப்புறம் சொன்னதுக்கு அப்புறம் நீங்க சொன்னது எல்லாமே எத்தனது இங்க பாயிண்ட்ல இருக்குன்னு பாப்போம்னா I will turn the page there. அதுக்கப்புறம் அவன் சொன்ன பாயிண்ட்லாம் இருக்கான்னு அவன் கவனிப்பான். So these are the teaching aids. The question தான் இல்ல, ஒரு இன்டராக்டிவ் மெக்கானிசம்ல கொண்டு போலாம் அந்த flip chart வச்சிட்டு.
ஓகே சார்.
நெக்ஸ்ட்
சார் அப்புறம் சார் நாம் ரெஃபரன்ஸ் கிரைட்டீரியன் ரெஃபரன்ஸ் சொல்லி ரெண்டு சொன்னீங்களா சார்? அது ரெண்டும் என்ன டிஃபரன்ஸ் சார்? ரெண்டும் ஒன்னால டிஃபரன்ஸ் இருக்கா?
டிஃபரன்ஸ் ஹியூஜ் டிஃபரன்ஸ் இருக்கு. இப்போ ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் வந்து நீங்க காலேஜ்ல ஒர்க் பண்றீங்களா?
இல்ல சார்.
ஓகே, தட்ஸ் ஓகே. ஏன்னா காலேஜ்ல ஒர்க் பண்றவங்களுக்கு அந்த எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொன்னா தெரியும். தட்ஸ் ஓகே. இப்போ வந்து நாம் ரெஃபரன்ஸ்னா பார்ட் ஏ கொஸ்டின் ஈச் கேரிஸ் 2 mark. Attend 5 questions. Attend all the questions. 5 questions இருக்கு. 5 into 2 10 mark. Part B each carries 10 mark. Answer any 2. அப்ப 2 into 20 2 into 10 20 mark. இதுதான் நாம். ஓகே. கிரைட்டீரியா என்ன அர்த்தம்னா 2 மார்க்குக்கு வந்து bulletin பாயிண்ட்ல ஆன்சர் இருக்கணும், ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் இருக்கணும். That is what the criteria I follow for valuing for giving 2 out of 2 to my student. 10 mark கொஸ்டினுக்கு ஒரு கண்டிப்பா ஒரு கிராஃப் இருக்கணும், ஒரு இன்ட்ரோடக்ஷன் இருக்கணும், லென்த்தி ஆன்சர் இருக்கணும், டெஸ்கிரிப்டிவோட bulletin பாயிண்ட் இருக்கணும், then conclusion இருக்கணும். Then only I can give 10 out of 10. So if you have introduction, you will get 2 mark. If you have chart, you will get 3 mark. If you have a good description, and then you will get 3 mark. Likewise, I will decide criteria for allotting the marks out of that particular 10. Norm வந்து 10 இருக்கணும். Criteria வந்து I will decide. Right? I will decide and I will inform to the students accordingly. If you perform like this, you will get good mark. So this is criteria. First இதுல வந்து என்ன சொல்லுவாங்கன்னா credit. இப்ப சில காலேஜஸ்ல they used to give credit. That is called their norm. இப்ப B ஸ்கூல்ல பார்த்தோம்னா 10 credit course அப்படின்னுவாங்க, 5 credit course. That is their norm. சில காலேஜ்ல வந்து மார்க் பர்சன்டேஜ் இருக்கும். 40% is the pass mark அப்படின்னு இருக்கும். Right? அதே ஒரு சில காலேஜ்ல ஒரு பேப்பர் மட்டும் நீ ஃபெயில் ஆயிருந்துச்சுன்னா at last you can request to get pass without writing exam. That is a norm. Right? அதே மாதிரி what is that? If you have internal and external நீ ஃபெயில் ஆயிட்ட, பட் internal ஒரு 10 mark கம்மியா எடுத்து ஃபெயில் ஆயிட்ட, அந்த 10 mark நீ external எடுத்துட்டேன்னா the mark can be compensated, you will get pass. அது வந்து non referenced grade. Right? புரியுதுங்களா? Criteria is a part of norm, within the part of norm. இது வந்து ரொம்ப மைக்ரோ லெவல் criteria. Criteria can be decided by the faculty who values the paper, right? But norm is standard for the entire institute or particular course, right?
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yeah. Anything more? Good interaction. Any more? Thank you. So thank you.